One of the questions I get asked in DMs the most is how high do I think Bitcoin can go this cycle? While I'm no clairvoyant, it's really tough to answer a question like that because you have to also answer the question when. But I'm going to do my best in this video to make a guess as to what potential cycle tops could be. And this is going to be based on a couple of things. We'll start with a Fibonacci analysis because I think fib levels are really good to look at. We're going to look at fibs in a way that we don't usually look at in this channel, which is go above the one level, but we have to do that now that Bitcoin is in price discovery. So that's how we'll start it off, and then we'll just kind of go from there and hopefully have some answers for you that can help you kind of guide your journey about when Bitcoin might find a major cycle top. This is Crypto Simulation Theory. I'm the Gaussian Snake. I would love to have you join my Telegram group. Man, people have been flooding in the past few days, so why don't you join them? We got around 300 people there now. Fairly new channel, but we're growing fast again, along with the crypto market. So also don't forget to subscribe to this channel, like this video if you enjoy the content and want to see more like it. All right, let's go ahead and get started. Let's take a look at Bitcoin. All right, so this is the 2012, or we'll say the 2011 to 2013 cycle. I'm not going to analyze the first major run up or initial capitalization of Bitcoin because I feel like doing that doesn't really make a whole lot of sense. To draw fibs, I really need a swing high and a swing low. So I am going to use, or I should say, I already used the major top of the 2011 bull cycle or initial capitalization period, and that would represent the one fib. And so we can see that the 2013 cycle put in two tops, and the first top hit the 1.786 fib. The second top actually almost hit the 2.414 fib, which is pretty damn high. So that is quite a rise for Bitcoin and the appreciation. I don't really care too much about the percentage move or anything like that. You can study that on your own. I want to focus more on fibs right now. Like how high can we go? How high have we gone in the past? So we made it all the way to the 2.414 in November, December of 2013. All right, let's go ahead and look at the next cycle and see what happens. In Bitcoin's second cycle, so this would be spanning from 2014 all the way to the 2017 top at the end of the year, November, December 2017, we also almost made it to the 2.414 fib. Crazy, isn't it? We did successfully make it just like we did in 2013 to the 2.272 fib. But we went above that to hit $20,000. So that's two in a row now at the 2.272. The diminishing returns hadn't really hit in a big way yet, had it? The time that it took to get here was a lot longer, but we still managed to do quite an impressive move in that cycle. Let's go ahead and look at the next cycle after. So in the last bull cycle, we noticed something very different happened. We were unable to make it even above the 2 fib. In fact, we didn't even make it to the 1.786. Instead, we got a double top at the 1.618. The 0.618 fib is normally a very difficult fib to overcome to begin with, but getting rejected at the 1.618 is kind of interesting. We just couldn't get above it. But I want to challenge your perception for a minute, and I want you to kind of consider consider something. Now, technically, we did put in a new all-time high, so I am going to have to draw fibs based on this high, and we will do that. But I want to just kind of like draw your attention for a minute to a possibility that how we still got to the 2.272 fib with wicks near the 2.414 in each cycle before this. It just took longer, right? What if we just kind of consider December 2017 to actually be when the last cycle ended, and this double top was just sort of a blip along the way? What if this is one long cycle? Could we get back up to the 2.272 and wick to the 2.414? Where would that put us? Look at the price targets. It actually seems kind of reasonable, doesn't it? The 2.272 is at $207,430.16. This is relative to the 2017 top. The 2.414 is right at 270K, also relative to the 2017 top. Now, like I said, This is not truly respecting the way we should draw FIBS, but does kind of bring an argument of like, well, from 2011 to 2013, it just took 2 years to get to the 2.414 fib. From 2013 to 2017, it took 4 years to get to the 2.414 fib, or I should say 2.272, right? And from 2017 to let's say 2025 took 8 years. You notice those are powers of two, 2, 4, 8. I'm going to write this down so you can see it and remember it. Let's go ahead and get this, written down. So get this, check out this math. Again, from 2011 to 2013, we made it to the 2.272 fib and wick to the 2.414. And it took double that amount of time, or 2 squared, 4 years from 2013 to 2017. Remember, 2013 had a double top. I'm sorry, that should say, well, yeah, technically it did from the end of 2013 because that's where the top was. And then we think at the end of 2017 to potentially the end of 2025, that would be 8 years. And that would put a wick for a blow off top near $270,000, which would represent roughly close to around a 3 to 4x from where we're at right now. Okay, so this would correspond to a major blow off top close to $270,000. And actually, I did an idea on TradingView, which I'll show you. I'll go to my TradingView, and this was back from late 2023. That actually predicted a top around $270,000. So I have that published on TradingView. It's one of my only things published on there. So I'll bring that up in a minute. But this is kind of interesting. I don't expect this pattern to hold perfectly, but it could give us a way of estimating when blow-off tops occur. What if the next blow-off top isn't for another 16 years after 2025? Maybe the next blow-off top doesn't occur until 2041, and then maybe the one after that might not occur until 2063. Like, we've taken these things for granted with Bitcoin, but what if they start to space further and further apart? And that would be pretty in line with logarithmic regression, diminishing returns, diminishing volatility. Bitcoin becomes a very stable asset at some point. But could you imagine that if it took another 16 years to get a blow off top? Then you definitely don't want to take this bull run for granted, because it might be a long time before we see, such extreme volatility with Bitcoin, right? It could be a really long time, but um, that does make sense to me, at least, that this idea could hold water. This is an idea I just like came up with today, honestly. But yeah, I might be interested to know what you think. Let me know in the comments, or we could discuss it in Telegram. But let's kind of move on from here. But I just wanted to share that with you. And I want to show you my TradingView idea that I did back in like late 2023, that also kind of corresponds strangely to this 270K top. And I know in my videos, I've been all over the place with my predictions for 2025, right? But I've always said that I wanted to wait till more data came in, till we get closer to the end of the year, for me to start, thinking about it in a more serious way. Okay, so I use the Bitcoin Liquid Index to draw this chart. This is the only published idea I have on my TradingView. You can see it was published on November 24th of 2023, so about a year ago. And this is not like an original idea or anything entirely. Like, I got some inspiration from another YouTube video that I watched at that time. But the idea here is you can break down the bull run into different stages, red, yellow, green, red, yellow, green, red, yellow, green. And at the time we were still in yellow, and I had basically called for, and I wonder what time this would actually be at this point. Yeah, sometime in 2024, I think I was calling for a breakout, right? And I drew this path, and things didn't play out exactly this way, but that's not really the point. And you can see that what happens is that your former all-time hot, or your former line, like right here, for instance, let's just go all the way back to the beginning, to kind of understand this. So you have this former like line that acts as resistance, right? But that started out sort of as support. So this was like support in 2011, flipped to resistance. And then this line now acts as support in the 2013, 2014 cycles, flips to resistance. And this pattern just keeps repeating itself. And so I sort of charted this out, and I came up with an idea that, assuming that we kind of average the days that it takes to get from one phase to another, that roughly in October of 2025, this is what I said down here. See, November, this was posted November 23rd. I charted out a path for Bitcoin over the next few years based on the previous cycle support zone acting as resistance for the next cycle. Looks like Bitcoin can hit between 270 and 280K on the next market cycle top. If these lines are fit correctly, and we do not get a recession and knock us down to a meaningful way between now and then. So that was my thinking a year ago. This is before I even started my channel. I was just playing around with TradingView. So let's go back to the to the chart that we had, right? So let me pull that up. Now, it really wouldn't be that much of a shock to see Bitcoin go into this region as a blow off top. And this fractal that started in 2017 to 2025 could represent a cycle, right? And then you can think of the previous cycle as a 4-year cycle, and you can think of this one as a 2-year cycle. Maybe the next major cycle is a 16-year cycle. And it won't be till 2041 that we see that really parabolic move take place, measured from wherever this tops. So let's say that this tops like up here, like on Q in October of 2025. Let's just pretend that that happens, right? And we take this measured move, whatever this is, and we could chart this out and say, sometime that, of course, would represent your new high. So there'd be a whole new set of fibs, right? But maybe that's when Bitcoin hits 1 million or something like that. Maybe Bitcoin hits $1 million in 2041. Okay. So this is just an idea I'm playing around with based on log regression. Very curious to hear your thoughts. So yeah, but let me move on to some other things related to cycle tops. Okay, I have the 2-week Gaussian channel turned on, and there's another very interesting observation. You can see that in the Gaussian channel initial capitalization is just literally straight up. You can see that after the 2013 second top, the Gaussian channel turned red, and we went into this like inflection, right, where we just kind of came in, sloped downward, inflected back to up, and we got another blow off top, right? We got a blow off top right here. But then look what happened. We just kind of like moved around and screwed around for a little while. This almost looks like one giant cycle, and there's your little inflection point where you actually came down. Gaussian channel went red, and now we're popping off again. Now this is, to me, is confirmation bias. Okay, I mean, I don't think it's that this is going to be like, even if this goes into a blow up top, I don't think this will be the last time we see a red Gaussian channel. I don't think it's going to be like another 15 years or something. But because with logarithmic growth, you're going to see the slowdown. You'll see more reds for sure. But I just think it's kind of an interesting observation that as we're gearing up for what I think is going to be another blow off top into sometime perhaps late next year, that we're seeing a similar pattern play out to what played out in 2017, right? That's more of what I'm focused on, is this: you come down and then you come back up, right? We did not see this happen in 2021. We saw it happen in after 2013 heading into 2017, and we got that parabolic move. I think something like that could be playing out again, but in just a less volatile way. So that's just another idea I want to throw at you. Okay, this is the 2-week RCMO, or reverse Chande momentum oscillator, or price momentum oscillator, as I like to call it. And I think I'm going to take off the Gaussian channel. Okay, so you see Bitcoin's price trajectory over the years, and major tops have typically occurred when we have gotten close to this purple line, which is a RCMO score of 100. And generally, that just means that the ROI from the major cycle bottom is generally exhausted. Just like when you come down here, that's typically corresponding to exhaustion in selling pressure. Looks like I have like Fibonacci candles on right now. I think I've had Fibonacci candles on this entire time without even realizing it. Sometimes it just saves my preferences or so. Yeah, got that fixed. Anyways, doesn't change this. So then you can see what kind of happened in 2013, and I think something like this could play out on a much more extended time frame in this cycle, where you kind of got this like shoulder as in 2012, right? Didn't really. This was August 2012, September 2012. Didn't really correspond to anything significant. But this was, of course, building up momentum. We had this slow grind up, and then you had a head. But notice where we were. We were at an RCMO of like around 100, and then we came down again. And on the second cycle top, which arguably was a blow off top, it formed a lower shoulder. So we had like a massive head and shoulders, and then we had a really wicked bear market. And that took us all the way back down here for a reset. And then it took us really long time to get back up to this level. Like this is only at 86, but it's still high enough, and it was a major cycle top. And then because we didn't go up as high, I think we didn't fall as low. So we put in a double bottom in 2018, and then here's your 2019 bounce, and you get this like W shape. And we came up on the other side of the W in I think it was January of 2021. And so I know this is a few months before we had our top, but look at how we kind of had this jagged, pattern where in January, of course, you remember that move in quarter four of 2023. That was pretty explosive, right? And so this is sort of looking at, yeah, your ROI has pretty much been exhausted, and then we just kind of, fought for bullishness and ultimately lost and came down. Oh, I'm sorry, I'm looking at the wrong cycle here. This is 2020. My bad. This was, yeah, I was like, no, this sounds more like 2020. Yeah, but we did do something actually kind of similar in 2024. Anyways, so we hit our max ROI in 2021 in January, then came down and then bounced up again in 2021. And you can see again, it's almost like this like big head and shoulders pattern, very stretched out. And then we came down to like negative 67, which is pretty much in line with previous bottoms. And we formed our first shoulder of what I am guessing is a potential head and shoulders on the RCMO. So this, I am speculating, is a shoulder. Wow, that does not look like an S, does it, guys? That's better S. And then we came down in September 23, and then we had that explosive move into March, the March top, right, of 2024. And that I would consider to be the head. So that's where you like maxed out your ROI from cycle bottom. Because if you think about it, like a 15,500 to 73.5, that's like just a little more than a 4x move, but it happened very quickly. Like, well, not super, super quickly, but we got all the way to the top here, which is the first time that's happened ever since like 2011 maybe, where we've hit this top line and the cycle may have not actually been over, right? So if we were to, sorry, I have to go back to click on this. If we were to now come and speculate what might be in store for us, and I know this is going to sound a little different than what I've said in the past, so just bear with me. I'm really giving this a lot more serious thought now. I can't predict exactly how this will go, but I think we're about to flip the signal line green. And I actually think, with maybe a little bit of screwing around here, um, that looks horrible. Oh my gosh, I cannot draw. All right, I'm trying, folks. I'm trying. Maybe we put in another really nice move. It doesn't get us quite as high. We come down for a little bit, and then we could have like kind of an unimpressive bounce at the end of the year. But that could be when we hit 270K. Could be some move kind of like this, and that would represent our shoulder. Okay. So and send us down into a bear market. And it doesn't have to play out exactly the way I've drawn it. Sorry, I'm trying to get it to like show, but I have issues with this thing. Sometimes it wants to behave, sometimes it doesn't. There we go. But you kind of get the idea. Like we'll get another rise in momentum, and that marks sort of the end of that's sort of going to be sort of like our January 2021 moment. And then I think, at some point maybe we get like a November 2021 moment, something kind of like that. And then you get this head and shoulders pattern that takes us into a really nasty bear market. And that could be the recession. Okay, that could be the recession we've all been waiting for. I think we have to look at what the Fed does. Like the Fed may slow down their rate cuts, and if they slow down their rate cuts, that will probably prolong the recession from happening for a little while longer. Now that I know what the presidential election results are, I kind of have a better idea of what the Fed thinks that it's going to do and how they're talking about the economy. The economy is a lot stronger than people think it is right now, and so I think it's actually not unreasonable to think that this bull run could actually survive throughout most of 2025. And I'm starting to think that that might actually be a likely path forward to get us that over $200,000 major cycle top, and potentially wick as high as 270K at the end of the year or near the end of the year. That would give Ethereum time to run. That would give altcoins probably a couple altcoin seasons, like maybe two altcoin seasons. And it's just like, man, the cycle just repeats itself. But what you're not realizing, I think, when you think about cycles, is that maybe this was an 8-year cycle, not a 4-year cycle, but an 8-year cycle, and maybe the next cycle is a 16-year cycle. And along the way, you're going to hit major tops. You're going to take out your all-time high. You're going to have major lows. But the truly explosive moves, sorry, I don't know what I'm doing with my watch. The truly explosive moves, maybe those only come very rarely, right? With Bitcoin. I'm talking about Bitcoin. So That's kind of what I'm thinking could be the case, and I would love to hear your thoughts. This is just a theory, like any other theory. It's probably wrong, but let me know what you think. This is a lot of fun to talk about. So that's kind of what I'm thinking right now is that this cycle is likely to extend deep into 2025. There is a situation where we enter into a recession in quarter one or quarter two of next year, but I'm starting to think that that's actually less likely to happen now that the Fed seems like they're probably going to like slow down with the rate cuts. That was my base case initially is that, well, if the Fed starts to get really aggressive with rate cuts, they might, that might be a sign that the economy is very weak and there's a reason for that and the markets might not react favorably. So yeah. Anyways, we've seen this with the stock market too. The stock market can take like over a decade to really get going sometimes. And once it gets going in a big way. Just study the history of it. So any major capitalized asset probably behaves in a way like I mean, look at gold. So Bitcoin, I think, is becoming more and more capitalized over time. And it's going to get less and less volatile. It's harder to make. It's just going to be harder to make money. Like it's just going to take longer to achieve the goals that you want to achieve. There always will be money to be made in the crypto market. Like people have been getting rich off the stock market for over a century. It's just going to be harder. That's all. So hope you enjoyed this exercise in looking for a major cycle top for Bitcoin. Again, I'd love to hear your thoughts. You can leave in a comment for me down below or go to my Twitter page, or I'd really love to see you in my Telegram because that's where I hang out the most often. I'm there every day. We have multiple analysts in there. One of the people in our Telegram is actually a professional stock trader with an impeccable record. We've got just some bright minds there. We got people who make custom indicators, and we're just a very friendly, all hands on deck kind of group. One of our core beliefs at Crypto Simulation Theory is that there is no guru in the group, including me, the Gaussian snake, that I'm just one voice of many, and that you as the investor can, absorb all these different voices and decide what to take and what not to take and form your own opinion of the market. Because, as with anything else, nothing that we do here is financial advice. Another belief that I have is that whenever possible, I don't want to, charge my subscribers for things, right? Like, I think that you guys need to make your money in the market. And I feel that as somebody who is managing this channel, that I kind of want to make my money from the market too. It's sort of a pride thing, right? Like, um, what am I doing leading this channel if I can't walk out of here in a gain, right? So maybe I'm just a little too hard on myself, but that's just kind of how I think and how I feel. I know when I was in your shoes looking for somebody to follow on YouTube, it was very frustrating to find them behind a paywall. And I've heard from lots of people in my group that they actually feel that the content in our Telegram and on our YouTube channel is superior in some ways to what you get from paid channels. So let's keep it that way for as long as we can. I'm not saying that I would never offer a paid service of some kind. It's just I really don't feel like doing that right now. I want to just focus on helping us navigate this really difficult market and come out of it with money. We've been suffering long enough. The bull run is finally here, and we can finally enjoy the fruits of our labors. So I'll just kind of leave it there. If you enjoy the content, be sure to like, subscribe, and follow my channel. And I will talk to you again in the next video. Bye.